Guys, this is part 2. I just had to take a water break, that's why I ended the first video. And part 2, basically we're still discussing The Price of Love. Yes, it's The Price of Love by Stacey. What? I can't hear you guys. Stacey what? Stacey Amewoyi. Yes, Stacey Amewoyi is our favorite author. I am pushing this agenda forward because she needs to be heard. She needs to be given a platform. She's a great novelist, a great philanthropist, a great humanitarian. She's just such a great, well-rounded woman that I feel like reading her book has just given me so much wisdom, and I thank God for her life. So today we're going to be diving into the second segment of this Price of Love discussion. I basically take excerpts from her book and I just speak and elaborate on what I've learned. Every knowledge that I speak of is from this book, so you can also, and guess what, this is just snippets that I'm giving you guys. I'm not giving you everything because I want you to get the book yourself and purchase it and read it and be enlightened. Yes, be enlightened. Okay, I'm just in such a good mood because this is my favorite thing to do. Just sit down and vocalize everything that I've learned. It's like me literally like spitting what I've learned, like copy and paste via my voice. Okay, so this can be found on today's discussion, can be found on page 67, and it basically says teenage relationship problems. Ooh, scandalous. Teenagers, if you're watching this, we're going to expose you. Anyways, teenage relationship problems. This is not meant just for teenagers or youth. It is also meant for parents of adolescents. It's also meant for friends. Like, it's meant for anybody who basically exists, because either you're in contact with a teenager, either you are a teenager, either your friends are. Like, you can always learn this message and just tell other people about it, or you can always learn this message and advise, or it can be for your own benefit or somebody else's benefit. You know, there's nothing such as knowledge wasted. Knowledge that you gain is knowledge that is a good thing if you apply it properly, of course. So basically, we're going to talk about so many things that Stacey Amewoyi highlighted in this book. And the first thing is, I'll read just a small excerpt here just for people to kind of like get an idea of where I'm heading with this. When we say relationships, it's not just saying that romantic relationships. It could be family relationships, it could be friendships, best friendships, because there's friendships like people that you're just friends with, and then best friendships, societal bonds, just so many different types of close knit relationships that teenagers might face, and how to deal with them as parents, as guardians, and as teachers, and as somebody of authority, basically. And also as a teenager yourself, how to kind of like I would just say maneuver your way through that adolescenthood, because it's a very tricky thing to maneuver through, trust me. Okay, so page 67, like I said, and it's chapter 11. It says teenage relationship problems. Okay, so I'm going to just read this I don't know if you could tell, but this little blue thing here, yes, I'm just gonna read it real quick. Okay, it says families with teenagers often live with the worry at the stage in their lives for their sons and their daughters. To avoid worrying about everything, it is very useful to detect in advance what are the most frequent risks that teenagers face. So basically, it's saying that if you have teenagers in your house, it's easy for you to worry as a parent, as somebody who cares. And basically, to avoid worrying unnecessarily, because you're going to worry regardless, but to avoid worrying unnecessarily, you have to detect certain things in advance. And once you detect them in advance, then you be familiar with the type of risks that are involved with having a teenager and the things that they might do, and you probably have a discussion with the kids about it before it gets out of hand, or before they get introduced to something from somewhere else. One thing that Stacey Amewoyi always says is that it's better for you to know about a problem and deal with it now, or to probably like plan for it now, than to have something come up unknowingly and you cut off guard. Yes, so that's something that I've learned from her personally, that I'm giving it to you. So basically, I'm a fan of hers, so you know, I'm always keeping in touch with her codes, her poems, her books, her foundational works, and everything. So that's why I know all of these things from her, and I thank God so much for her life once again. So let's get into it. So it says problems at school. Okay, and it basically talks about behavior issues. We all know that behavior is learned. From a psychologist standpoint, behavior is learned, and human beings are a reflection of their society, their background, their upbringing, just religious things, societal problems, everything that the teenager is exposed to. They might somehow react. Either the reaction might be in a positive way or a negative way. They might take whatever is around them and act upon it, or they might do the complete opposite. And the people who do the opposite might be the rebellious people. Like, let's say when teachers implement rules at school or governmental things, and they decide to just do the opposite. That's the rebellious part. They're literally reacting to whatever society has given them. They're reacting to their surroundings. And on the flip side, people who comply and conform are actually like praised. But I personally don't think that everybody should comply or conform. And I've learned that from Madam Stacy, because sometimes conformity is something that leads you astray. It leads you to be like a crowd person, like a bandwagon jumper, where you just jump onto bandwagons and you don't have your own individual perspective. You just kind of like go along with everybody's saying just to like fit in and just to be accepted. So I'll leave this with you. Another advice that I learned from her is that you do not compromise your faith just to be accepted. Do not compromise your integrity just to fit in or to be cool as a teenager. If you're a teenager watching this, please write this down somewhere or keep this in the back of your head. At the back, I set it back and I put it to my side. At the back of your head, and let's get going. So basically, it says problems at school, and it talks about how to basically deal with teenagers when they have problems at school. One thing that it says is that problems at school should not just be addressed by the school staff, but basically it should be addressed at home. Meaning that if you're a teacher and you notice something wrong with the teenage, you notice that they started to get mood swings, they start to act unusually, you should not just discipline the child or correct them right away. You should also wait to tell their parents. Because if you tell the teenager to tell something to their parents, 9 times out of 10 they might not. But if you have one-on-one conversation with their mom and be like, okay, this is what my child, not my child, this is what I've noticed from X, Y, and Z child, and this is how to go about it. Basically, it would help because it would inform the parents, and once the parents are informed, they will know how to address and kind of like correct the behaviors at home so they don't transpose into like school life. Okay, so I'll read something for you here. It says problems in family relationships. The most frequent problems of adolescents is usually their relationship with their parents. Yes, I actually I'm aware of this because I've witnessed a lot of people, and this thing that she said is very true, because most of the things that teenagers face, it's a parental thing. Parents grow a disconnection with their child. The child does not feel like the parents are welcoming enough, so they don't express themselves to the child, and emotionally there's like a disconnection. There's not like a strong bondage or something, and there's no open room for discussion. Everything is just yes and no, and the parents know that it's true, and the kids also know that they cannot just go to their parents with just anything, because they know that their parents are probably going to give them an answer. So they pre-forecast whatever their parents are going to be responding to, and they don't tell the parents anything. All right, so it's basically saying that problems in the family, right, in the school, usually goes down to the parents, which is true. Then it says eating disorders. It says adolescence is a time when eating disorders is such a big thing, like anorexia. Yeah, this is because 100% of these things are formulas that can be avoided, but yet teenagers fail to comply, which means that basically anorexia is an eating disorder, and most of the people, according to scientists and according to medical people on the medical field, anorexia is something that most teenagers have. It's a broad spectrum of things that cause anorexia, but one thing is just peer pressure, the pressure to be skinny, the pressure to look a certain way. So people force food out of themselves. People don't eat, people starve, or they might eat but just throw it up just because they want to fit the societal misleading image of perfection, or image of what beauty is and all these things. So somebody might want to lose weight because they want to look good for a guy, or they might want to be accepted, or they might want to look like the Instagram model they follow. So yeah, these are all different types of pressures that might cause this eating disorders. Basically, eating disorder might just be an imbalance in your eating habits. You might either be eating less or more. So it's not just people who want to get skinny, but this can also affect people who want to get bigger and thicker, because guys like thicker people, or guys like X, Y, and Z, or it's more accepting that you're thick and not skinny. So yeah, it affects both parties. Another thing is bullying. Basically, Stacey says is that bullying in school is another of those serious problems that lurk in teenagers. The best way to combat that is information. The best way to combat bullying is to keep your kids informed. Let them know that the kids' perspectives, your opinions, and all these things are appreciated and are welcomed. If they feel like they've been shut down or being dismissed, that's a form of bullying. They're not welcoming the child's inputs, that's also a form of bullying, and they shut them down, that's also that's also a form of bullying. Providing it's not disrespectful, providing it's not negative, providing it's not like left or anything, it's always welcome. And also Stacey Emily says is that bullying might even connect with eating disorders. Maybe the child is being told he or she is fat, he or she is too this, too that, so then they feel like they have to buy into this society's narratives or the school's narratives of what profession is, and then that's how they're interconnected. So she talks about that, and she says that inform your child, let them know that if somebody is being mean to you, that's bullying. If somebody is not basically picking on you, is just coming up with ways to kind of like dehumanize you, that's a form of bullying. And bullying, there's two types actually. There was the physical regular bullying, and there's the cyberbullying. The cyberbullying is just as bad as the physical bullying. So inform your kids, let them know, let them equip them with the knowledge, and let them know their worth, so nobody tells them otherwise and abuses their worth, right? Another thing is internet harassment, which goes along with bullying. Teenagers are exposed to a lot of like weird things online, a lot of explicit content, and they might subscribe to it, even though it might say 18 plus. We all know our kids are not following the guidelines, so I encourage teenagers to kind of like know themselves and not put themselves in spaces where they're not at the age requirements of. And also parents, please implement these strict laws on usage of technological devices, because you never know what your child is being exposed to behind your back, and you don't want your child to be exposed to too much too soon, especially explicit content, because it will directly affect the psychological makeup of your child. Yes, and your child might react to it in a negative way, and they might actually undertake or build a tolerance towards these things. And the last thing you want is a teenager who has built a large amount of tolerance for things like porn, things like graphic and very like explicit video games, explicit imagery, explicit like all those negative things. If your child has a tolerance towards it and is immune towards it, it's actually very bad, and it might cause a negative impact long term on the child. You might not realize it. So yes, harassment, bullying, and eating disorders are some of the things being discussed. She also discussed the topic of unwanted pregnancies, sexual abuse, traffic accidents, and so many others. So please, I'll bring this segment to an end, and I'll open a new segment and talk about a different aspect of the book. But these are certain things that Cecilia Mehoyi has done extensive research on, and she goes on. I'm telling you the snippets of it, and I'm just reading the headers for you. But she has so much information on these things that if you buy the book, it's not just educating you on love from a romantic aspect, but it's also educating you on love from a systematic aspect, from a marriage aspect, from a not marriage like romantic aspect of the marriage, which is something that she does, but from like the know-hows and the pros and the cons, and just everything in general that you need to know and be informed about. So we are grateful for somebody like her who actually writes with the intent of informing than just to create content. So thank you guys so much for watching this. Like, subscribe, comment, and don't forget to check staceyfoundation.org for more information. Thank you guys so much. Bye.